22. Will it be TSM or will it be Empire? Let's get into the map and find out, as we're immediately going to chuck Nomad out for the first ban on the table here. That's the choice from Empire. TSM selection, in the meanwhile, is going to fall in line with what we've seen in the meta, as Thatcher will be removed for them.
Well, luckily enough for Dev Marta, it seems like he's going to get exactly what he wants. Nomad off the board means we might have some high-flying action in between these two. The smoke ban coming through as well. Not only a solid ban overall for a map like Coastline, but also somewhat of a target up against Shepard, who's one of the best smokes in the entire world.
Not the first time we've seen a smoke ban utilized specifically inside of an Empire matchup, and if memory serves me correctly, inside of this map also. I believe we saw it back when they played the Sonics earlier on in the tournament, so it's going to be a repeat of that. Valkyrie, of course, will now be removed from play. Way too much outside contention and positions where you can sneak those cameras into play, so you do not want to leave her in the play for this one, considering how roam heavy this map is going to be for the defenders. Meanwhile, though, it's Empire that get that honor first, as they're going to start on the defensive side, and TSM will be on the attack. Blue Bar is up first as well as the site selection for Empire.
It's truly insane that we've reached here, and not only reached to the point where we're at the maximum map inside of a best of 3, but also that we're here on Coastline. Honestly, I was sitting in the green room this morning and talking to Pangu, and him and I both did not think this map would be inside of the map pool just because of the history with these two teams on this map. But we're here, and it's live. Not only that, I personally think that this is one of Shepard's best maps whenever he plays for Empire. It is truly electric what he can produce here, but we'll have to see what they can get done. All the cards are on the table for both of these teams. Pull out all the stops, pull out any weird strat that you have, because it all matters right now.
Important to note, of course, once again, while we are not going to have any upper bracket advantage as far as I'm aware inside of the grand final, the advantage you will get is the fact that you don't have to play that one additional series in the lower bracket finals as well. That's 3 more maps you potentially get to hide, 3 more huge strategies you could potentially keep in your pocket heading into the grand finals if you're not forced to thrust them out here in this series. Both teams want that honor, but only one can walk away with it.
And don't forget this, if you come from the lower bracket and that goes the full breadth of that best of 3, you have a possibility of playing 8 maps of Rainbow Six in a competitive setting in a singular day. Let me tell you, that is so unbelievably strenuous. The amount of focus it takes just to complete a best of 3 at this caliber of play is insane. And now, with the start, we already have Merc here on the double window for Pen. Can he get the kill onto Scyther? He's dancing back and forth.
Scyther?
Finally, he'll pick him up. Scyther, he's out on an island, and he's dead there.
Scyther just can't find the rhythm of that fight, unfortunately, and they're peeking at all the wrong times and directly into the bullets of Merc, who's now just going to hop off the big window rappel and rejoin his teammate Achieved on the roof here, since the all-clear signal has been given inside of the master bathroom. Still, you can see drones positioned on the inside of the penthouse as well to try and make sure that no one else from Empire would have potentially tried to rotate in after the death of Scyther. Not going to be that bold on the Empire side of things. They're going to keep it a little bit closer to the site and play entirely downstairs now.
Yeah, and for TSM, they're going to be bringing in some unique things as well. Obviously, past the smoke ban that they applied to Empire that'll assist them in planting, they also have Dokkaebi in the lineup. Dan also being down from a long angle here from Bolo. He'll be able to take control of the kitchen space now as they look to pick Dan back up, and hopefully they do so. These Wamai discs mean so much to the situation in the current moment, as he's the only person that can deny frag grenades for the defense.
The amount of harassment coming out from TSM right now, Empire needs to give some respect over to these attackers, but at the same time, need to try and waste out this clock a little bit. TSM have gotten way too much far too early on in the round, so it's a bit of a perplexing scenario here for our defenders as they're trying to toe the line between both their defensive capability in the late round as well as the capability to even get to that point in the round due to how many players and how much health they've already lost there. Most recently seen Always take a bullet or two there to chuck off about 25 of his HP. Things have slowed down though. It looks like Empire getting better control over their positioning, or at least what's left of it now as we enter the final minute of play. And TSM are a little bit more uncertain of themselves as they go back on the drones for 3 of their players to suss out these downstairs positions.
TSM not looking to overstep, also getting some solid intel as to what's going on inside of the site. Bolo with the possibility of another here as Shepard steps up, but he's only going to take a little bit of damage, but it's starting to add up here on the Empire lineup. Achieved, he's going to throw an uncooked nade down low as the swing comes through, and Shepard's going to win it out. Unfortunate for Achieved as he was simply not ready for the swing, and this timer now dwindling low. TSM needs a plant, or at least a space, in order to achieve this as the suns start to pour in. Always, he'll be able to find one inside the lobby, but the damage now coming back onto Empire as Dan will fall, so will Shepard, and Joystick and Always, they're all the way across the map, but luckily enough, Joystick, he's worked his way back in. Bolo with the oversight, though, as he'll be able to take down Joystick. It's all left up to Always, but he doesn't have an angle to stop this plant, and it's looking more and more like a TSM round, unless Always has more to say.
Good start to the 1v4 clutch, at least, as he cuts the head off of Chala, but 3 more players to knock out, and barely any time left to get himself in position towards the site. This move from Empire to try and get aggressive against the lobby hold, to swing back around towards it with 2 of their players, might have sealed the deal for TSM, as it left far too little presence on the site. They had the capability to delay, and it looked like they were going to be able to waste the clock down, but not anymore after they swung those players towards security. TSM open up the floodgates to Sunrise Bar and work themselves into a first round to start this map out with them in the lead.
Merc with the immediate pick, and then a fantastic working of the map coming past that from TSM as they clear out the entire top floor, force Empire back towards the site, and start dealing some serious damage to those site players, making it so very difficult for Empire to try and come back. Yes, they were able to get some serious kills like this on Shepard that really should have never have happened, but past that, it was TSM getting away with so very much, as Empire with a lot of missed positions inside of that as they tried to fight back against TSM.
Not to mention Empire with little to no respect for the intel game. You could see it, especially with Bolo's kitchen clear. He knew where every single member of that team was in sight there. Even though he wasn't able to necessarily leverage kills earlier on once he had taken kitchen control, he still knew how to play it out perfectly. And despite that, quite a few members of Empire trying to take challenges. It worked out well in the initial cool vibe swing due to a slight mistake from Achieve, but after that, and especially inside of the early round as well, they gave over far too many fights far too early on, and that's how TSM was able to control the round with such grace.
Loving the adaptations from Empire, though. After that last round, they want to try and slow down TSM as they recognize that the execute was still on pretty low time. So they're going to have Dan come through with the EDDs and Capcan to try and deal some damage to TSM as they clear out this map. It's down to the drone game here to not only suss him out, but see if any of these are on the door frames so they know how to operate around this top side of the space. So here for Empire, they're going to try and hold things down across the map as well, as they've destroyed the double bar here. Dan trying to sneak through the cracks, but can't in the current moment.
Around his life, so he doesn't want to stick around here for too
long.
Oh, that's a good thing as well. Joystick with the lineup from the inside of Sunrise. Dan as well, catching Merc. The tables have turned, and yeah, it's a bold play from Empire to cause this lack of disrespect, but this time TSM does not have the intel to play off of, and they pay the price for it, trying to set their foot inside the building very early on. They get tripped up as both Bolo and Merc are lost just seconds after the round gets started.
Fortunately enough, they will be able to deal some damage back onto Joystick, but he's going to hold on to the Sunrise space for some time. Only 50 seconds off the board, although 2 TSM members have already been killed off. So now for Empire, it's sticking to their guns and trying to delay this time as much as possible. Fantastic kill there from Dan as the duel went down inside of blue as well, as we get that on the replay. But now TSM, they've got some serious thinking to do. Empire's been able to hold on to most of the map control, and that's where things get difficult here on Coastline, especially as that timer continues to dwindle. Chala knows that somebody's more than likely inside of this office space, but it's more of a recognition between the two as they know that they have to try and compete for this area. Dan more than likely have audio on that player rotating in whenever Chala chooses to do so, as Joystick continually holds thing down inside of Sunrise. A stun in, a kill for Joystick as he's looking for even more. Knows that there's one more inside of this space as the stuns came through, as well as that frag grenade, but the damage is already done, and it's looking to go Empire's way.
The aggression from Empire working out hugely this time. A good trade finally found from Geo, but it's such a small gesture at this point in the round. If they can get another one, okay, we're back in play. With time starting to get low, it's going to be tough for them to look for that without risking their own lives. We see Scyther at the top of Cool Vibes catching the exchange onto Geo. Now Chala left alone with a 1v4 set before him. He's already been found out due to that evil eye he looked at. That blue glowing light in the background has given him away, and already you can see members of Empire starting to crunch down on top of him. He's aware of it all. Good read so far here from Chala as he tries to pre-fire in against Scyther's position upstairs, but not going to be able to find him so easily, and always finally meets the match needed to shut down this round as a quick response is picked up from Empire, and we go into another tie at 1-1.
The audible here for the kitchen defense from Empire looks dastardly as they take down 2 TSM members so very early, and that basically was the script that we followed throughout the rest of that as well. Joystick just being the constant member inside of Sunrise, especially putting a thorn in the side of TSM that they simply could not dislodge. Some fantastic kills as well as nades abound being used on him, but it seemingly didn't matter at the end of the day. He just kept removing these heads from these TSM members and just put them into such a dire situation that they were never able to come back from.
So let's get into it. Round number 3, the third and possibly final sight of Empire's defensive rotation. They're going to head upstairs into hookah and billiards. Keep in mind, of course, Miro is left out of the ban pool for defenders, so she's going to show up finally inside of this site hold. It's going to give some dangerous angles over to Empire here, as well as some utility clear that TSM absolutely need to knock out if they're going to want to be able to properly push themselves into a couple key areas of this site.
Yes, indeed. We'll see if Empire also wants to extend out some of these reinforcements and use them inside of the VIP space. We've been seeing quite a few teams reinforce the double wall and make the entry point over here a lot harder to get into. You have to prioritize using the guitar door then instead, and that basically makes it a funnel. So it makes it a little bit easier for the defense to be able to enact things upon you. So we'll see exactly what goes down for Empire, but as of right now, it's going to be an extension, but it's not going to be into VIP. They're going to move reinforcements all the way over into theater to make sure that the penthouse space isn't as safe to take for TSM.
TSM taking a much slower approach this time around here. It looks like, once again, looking to try and bleed out some of these early seconds of the round to find any more extended or out and about members of Empire. Not going to be too many of those either. They've got a good support system set up for their extended play over inside of Penthouse. And of course, the site itself will be plenty well reinforced and set up for trays. They're getting a little bit adventurous though, peeking out the big window inside of billiards, trying to see if anybody could be spotted from TSM near ruins, but not so much to be the case. Bolo in the meanwhile self-inserts into kitchen, but that's really just to take care of the default cam. I believe he quickly rotates back out and is going to regroup with the rest of his team over here at the platform outside hookah.
Well, the hookah window now being manned by Merc as well as Bolos. It'll be popped open. Merc going to take so much heat, or rather Bolo instead on the rappel, as Dan will take him down. Bolo just not ready for someone to be on that angle as he gets up and onto the hookah balcony. Extremely unfortunate for him in the moment as TSM are just going to give away the opening frag.
Bolo maybe thinking that he wasn't going to recommit to the angle there after the initial peek, but unfortunately Bolo locks himself into the animation just as that swing works its way out. See that one more time on the replay too. A good kill is found here by the members of Empire to start themselves on the right foot. At the same time, look at all these flashbangs. What is that? That's almost every single flash. In fact, it is every single flash available still to the attackers there. They quite literally dump the entire load inside of the site. And unfortunately, not to too much effect aside from knocking out a couple pieces of utility here.
Such successful defense from Empire thus far, and Joystick now in such a pivotal position. They'll be able to get rid of all of the X-Kairos. They don't need impacts anymore. They just need Joystick to stick around. And he gets rid of all of those X-Kairos down to 2 for Geo, so he'll launch even more at that mirror window. Achieve down low now. Joystick's been downed upstairs as Chala's actually worked his way in and found the man from Sunrise instead. But look at this timer right now for TSM. Yes, they've been able to secure Joystick, but they need even more. And fortunately enough, Achieve will gift it to them as he takes down Shepard.
TSM say, okay, you won't let us in on the horizontal plate? Fine, we will take it vertically as they're going to go for the artillery strikes from down below here. Knocked out one player and is down to second. Joystick here. Not going to be able to more than likely get himself back up. I say that, but Dan's certainly thinking about it as he's got the rotate position to open up. And oh no, always nearly having his life taken away there a second ago also. Both him and Dan with a sliver of HP to play with. And here comes Chala up the blue rotate here. It's a flurry of kills for TSM and it's not going to stop. 4 in a row to shut down this round as they take the lead again.
It's a terrifying opening for TSM as Bolo goes down, but luckily enough, they clean up shop. Empire just thinking that they can walk right into their own site, especially with all these crosses that are dedicated from TSM, and they time and time again get damaged by this. Also forgetting that TSM have control down low. These frag grenades work themselves through, achieved with the depth charge from underneath to take out Shepard in such a pivotal position as well. Very well done from TSM as they'll take the lead yet again.
For Empire, it's back to where they started, though, into the double bars, and this does not guarantee success for them, as this initial round was taken by TSM. However, a lot of that due to the fact that Empire wanted to take a couple of these fights earlier on, so they had to start that round out, if memory serves me correctly, down from a 3v5 at the very beginning of it. That's a quick and very easy correction to go for on the second play. So TSM might have to do a little bit more work this time as they go for their own second attack here.
Also here, we won't have the evil eyes any longer for Shepard. He's going to be dedicating himself to the Echo instead, which honestly is a fantastic audible given the fact that the smoke has been away for him. He not only will he have a deployable shield, but those yokais can obviously stop the plant as well as assist his teammates in getting some extra intel. So it's going to be a solid pick coming into this lineup. Past that, everything else making quite a bit of sense, especially for Always' sake, as he will be bringing in the Banshees.
So with TSM in charge, the question now becomes, can Empire keep up pace here, or are the attackers going to continue to run away with this lead out of the first half here? 3 more rounds still to decide that. 1 more full go of the sights for Empire. More than likely, no repeats with the way that we've been seeing Empire play these out, even with the potential losses coming in for TSM. Away from that, though, TSM still going to look to try and negotiate for their initial positioning and finding it a little bit harder to get it this time, but also a bit more of direct play coming out from them. Already up against the pool door, trying to clear out this utility stack, and there we go. Bleeding out the ADSs. That will my disc not catching that frag grenade there. You can see the top right corner of the push. That is going to open up the capability for them to pop open this rotation hatch, but of course they still have to bleed out the defender's impacts, as we're going to see both Dan and Always bring those in here now, trying to delay the opening.
And past that, we have TSM prioritizing a couple of different means in order to get towards this site. Not only that, but we also have some presence over on the east side that could be working its way in a little later on. Dan with some very serious contributions, but Gio will be buffed back up from the adrenal surges from Bolo, so he'll be healthy here in just a moment. Fortunate enough for TSM that they still have Bolo on Finka, so be able to use that and hopefully get Gio back towards 100% HP. First phone call out here for the Dokkaebi as Chala will be looking to start clearing this top end. Actually, second call here as he's just down to 1. Able to burn out everything with those stuns, but now the shotgun coming out for Joystick as he's manning the stairwell and doing it well, and he'll take down Merc.
First kill found, a little over halfway through it, with Empire striking true this time to knock out Merc. Mixed results for him so far inside of this series. Bolo and Achieved are the big players on the field, and just as I mentioned his name, he strikes true here, catching a trade onto Always and equalizing the player count, just as time is going to start to get a little more stressful here for TSM. A few more members of Empire needing to be dealt with before they can contend directly with the site play. However, most notably, of course, Dan, positioned here inside of barrels, and possibly going to have 2, if not 3 members of TSM bearing down on him in a moment, but he'll also have potential support coming out from security. Not going to need it to start this, though. That's a clean headshot to eliminate Bolo and knock him out, but like I said, there's 2 other players that want him dead, but no, Dan fends off the second player working his way in from service. Actually, it's one that came through the front door. The service player, Gio, is able to finally catch the exchange against him, putting TSM back into somewhat palatable position at a 2v3.
Empire's been fighting so hard on these defensive sides, and it's finally paying off as they have the man advantage going into the last 30 seconds. TSM have so much to do, and honestly, they really don't have the manpower to do it. Achieved is going to have to get so many kills here while Gio tries to put this plant down, and Empire in some very pivotal positions. With only 10 seconds remaining, Gio works his way in and starts the plant on the couch for Sunrise. Shepard taking a lot of heat now as he moves through. He'll take down the member, and that's more than likely going to be the round. As Achieved tries to jump in, he can't even find yet another player of Empire, as Empire will indeed take this round.
The retry on the double bars plays out for our defenders, and that's going to be dangerous here as TSM has to try and steal another one away if they want to keep things even as we inch towards the end of the half. Deadlock these teams are at a 2-2 scoreline. Neither one having serious contention to run away with the lead at this point. Things started out perfectly for TSM, but the responses, just like back on Bank, have been so swift from Empire that TSM cannot find a solid footing to get themselves ahead of the Russian machine as they try as well, just as hard as TSM is, to take that first spot in the grand finals of SI 2022.
Well, if Joystick was the man to line it up, Dan was the one to seal it away inside of that round as he made a grand stand inside of the kitchen area and was able to take out quite a few members that were pivotal to TSM's overall attack. We'll see if they're able to do it again here in round 5 as we head back to the kitchen defense where they found success the very first time they went here, and it was led off by Joystick as well. And speaking of Joystick, his opening bloods have been truly insane throughout most of this series. It's really been him as well as Dan that have been able to find their mark quite often, always as well as Shepard finding one each inside of this series so far, but Joystick especially at the top of the hill here for Empire inside of the opening minutes of the round.
Empire bringing back the Capcan operator we have not seen since map number 1 here for our defenders, and one that they're certainly going to try and use to clear out, or at least catch some of this early action from TSM, especially if they're not going to be checking those doorways. We saw at least one member of the team fall victim to it back on Bank. Empire looking to make it 2 on this round. Here is Dan. He's going to set up a couple of these kill boxes for himself.
Yes, indeed. These EDDs can be quite the nuisance, as we've noticed inside of these couple of maps here. Dan going to be starting us off inside of Office and looking to see if he can get the lead off pick yet again, but already some pressure around the space as the double window will be popped. Merc will be covering the blue bar area back and forth, but what a shot from Dan. Barely any damage on him as well, as he removes the head of Merc on the blue window, and he looks for it yet again. Pre-fires as well. That could have been the demise of TSM there in the opening 40 seconds.
1.5 so precise, and Dan is showing us just how to use it here. A perfect opener against Merc, and he's still got a possibility to go for number 2 here. Another member of TSM, 2 in fact, potentially swung out against him. It's all a matter of whether Dan can line up the challenge properly against the attacker's angles as well. So we'll come back to him in a little bit. There's some action being thrust against Joystick, nearly having a nade connecting onto him here. Needed a little bit more time on that fuse, and if the bank went out, might as well have taken down Joystick and given TSM their first blow. It's going to come from Chala instead, however, as he's able to finally trade out against Dan over towards Office, who found the first kill of this round. A Nitro in, and man, Bolo's got a lucky star watching over him as he just barely survives that. And now, due to Office control being contained by TSM, they can pinch against Joystick and prevent any further action against Bolo.
Apparently that lucky star happens to have a name, and his name is Geometrics, let me tell you, as he's able to find that frag inside of Sunrise. Achieve now taking a lot of heat, but do they know that he's actually inside of the site? No, they don't. Shepard, he simply walks back to the rotating, gets taken out, but so does Chala. He's been downed, and now Empire, they have to work their way back towards Kitchen, but where's the case at? It's currently on Geo, and Geo's nowhere near the site. They're over inside of Sunrise for the time being. Chala's down inside of the sunroom space. His Scyther will take him down, but they still need this plant.
2 blundered intel plays and a lost 1v1 have cost Empire tremendously inside of the 5th round here. TSM does not have full control over it just yet, however. You can see always still going to try to delay things from upstairs. That could be a powerful position. However, where's the counteraction to the plant? It's going down and no one's here to stop it. Here comes Scyther though. He's dropped 1. He's going to give the planter a chance to refrag, but it won't happen. A 3rd kill is picked up by Scyther, and now Achieved with less than 5 HP has to clutch it out in the post plant. Scyther and Always on the other end of this one, and in just a second, they're probably going to jump onto their first counter defuse. Achieve, though, has the counter angled for this, but does he have the reads on these last 2 members of Empire? Hasn't been able to find out the positions of either one of them, but he's working on a big flank to try and catch them right now. They're looking for him as well, but neither one going to be revealed. There's the spam. It gets them off plant, but Always has got the catch. He's going to knock out Achieved, and Empire will take the lead.
An incredible round here from Empires. They're making Coastline work on the defensive side, something that none of us expected when looking at the stats for this map. But as I said before, throw the notebook out the window, folks. You don't need it here. They are pulling out everything they possibly can up against each other in the moment. And with Dan hitting shots like this, TSM, you're going to have to do something else to push them in the grave.
See here once again how much of this round was really being set up inside of this the first minute or so. Looking like TSM had the advantage, but Empire never giving up an inch despite the disadvantage and player count thrown against them. Scyther is the hero as he swings himself back downstairs through enemy territory over by the double bars. That's a part of the map that had been long lost to TSM inside of the first minute after those first 2 to 3 kills had gone off, but still he retakes it, waltzes right in, picks up 2 additional kills, and then sets himself up with his teammate to retake the site there. Achieved, unfortunately, not able to fight it out at such low HP. He had to take a slow note about it, but just could not find a winning angle against either of the members of Empire.
Well, if the last handful of rounds were a battle, this is looking to be a war. Look at what Scyther's brought here. He's got the Thunderbird inside of the lineup now. They're looking to get feisty up against TSM, and they've already been taking the fight to him as well. This is going to help them out even more, as we've seen some of these rounds make it down to to where Empire, yes, they're able to secure some kills on TSM, but their health is so unbelievably low that they can't take other gunfights that are pivotal to picking up their round. So Thunderbird is going to help out quite a lot in this situation.
See where those are going to be positioned down at those Kona stations for Empire, as they'll be incredibly pivotal to deciding whether, once again, Empire has to fall entirely back to the side or if they'll be able to play inside of their extended positions. Keep in mind, of course, a little risky to leave them too extended from the site due to the fact that attackers can use those stations if they're left in the open also. TSM will certainly take that if they end up close on the first gun duel they get themselves into. Want to try and reboost themselves should they lose any HP, and they'll be more than able to. Those Kona stations are left out on the ground. For Empire, though, doesn't look like that's going to be the case, as all three will be locked right around the site play area. And once again, with that 1.5, we saw how pivotal it was for him to line up that shot at the beginning of the last round. He's looking to do it one more time here on the 6th. Knows he's got a challenge inside of service. He's going to try to throw out impacts to catch all these drones. Doesn't know exactly where they are. I thought for sure that was going to be a headshot, but never mind. It's Bolo to get it a bit more quickly instead as he knocks out Dan. Always there on the countered angle. Nearly catches the trade on the Bolo, however, but no dice in knocking him down. He's just going to have to fall away from security after the initial volley of bullets.
Olo hits the deck, trying to keep himself alive before this adrenal surge comes back off of cooldown. He needs some HP inside of this situation, and look at this shot from Bolo. Ended up getting hit in the shoulder there instead of the head. Very unfortunate for Dan in that regard, but now TSM, they've found their mark, and they're looking to take this round and equalize.
Half the round gone, though, and TSM only just starting to get themselves into the building, specifically over towards service. They need to circumnavigate all the way over to Cool Vibes and keep pressure in from Hookah also. A big checklist still sits in front of TSM, so while they have the player advantage, map control still needs to be gained. A second kill, though, is going to thrust that forward to a huge degree. And let's make it a third, why don't we, as Bolo gets his own personal second. Only the anchors left alive here as Joystick and Shepard are going to have to defend either one of the sites. As time gets low here, TSM does not feel the pressure. They know they can just throw bodies at the site and more than likely win it, but they'll have to be careful, though, as they've made that mistake in prior rounds here and still ended up losing it to Empire, so it's not secure just yet for our attackers as they look to equalize it at 3-3 in this final round of the opening half.
Some terrible things could happen in this moment here, but Merc, he's going to make sure that they have some Overwatch on this. He'll make it down and do a 5 versus 1 here. And that's a flawless as Chal is able to find the last kill for TSM. We're deadlocked at 3-3.
What a nice shot from Chala as well. Keep in mind, again, the Mark 14, not necessarily the easiest gun to work in those kind of awkward close-range scenarios, but he immediately snipes out the Mozzie and locks in round number 3 for TSM. Barely losing any players or any health on the way here. So they played off their intel and are able to isolate out Empire player by player, giving us a show we hadn't really seen since the first round there, but certainly a confident play on this attacking side to even it out. Now they're on the defensive end of things, though, and this is where they'll have to seal the deal, needing 4 out of 6 of the remaining rounds to lock in this map.
Can TSM do what Empire could not on the defensive end? We'll have to see as we get things started here for a kitchen defense for TSM. Now, some unique things working their way in here for TSM, specifically Merc on the Vigil that we did not see the entire time for Empire, but one that we usually see for Merc. This is definitely one of his favorite operators when it comes down to it, and we'll have to see if he can possibly run things up against Empire in the opening minutes here for round 7.
Lineup for TSM is not going to be too surprising. It'll be interesting that we see the Cade come into play. However, can be quite useful for locking down a few of these walls, specifically the one we're going to see utilized upstairs here. Potentially allows that extended position to last much deeper into the round, and tucking it in between the floorboards. It's going to hopefully keep it alive here and make it a little bit more difficult for some of this utility, notably the Twitch drone, to knock it out. Scyther's an experienced player, though, so shouldn't cause too much of an issue for him. And at worst case, can chuck a frag grenade at it and get the job done the old-fashioned way. It will be problematic, though, to get a frag in that specific position, considering it's directly above the site. So let's find out how Empire are going to look to go for this clear and specifically flush out the VIP position for TSM.
Cheat will be manning white stairs for now, as when you're used to these defensive teams on Coastline holding map presence. It's what you need to do at the end of the day to make sure that the offense doesn't just walk inside and start breaking up the floor and making the map difficult to play for you overall. Merc will be holding on to Theater for the time as Empire are working their way in over here in the office space. Scyther's still on the roof with Geo up top here near Billiards as they continue to try and hunt down drones and see where this entry point is going to be for Team Empire. But for them, it's still down to this info game. They want to make sure that this top space is clear. Also got some drones spinning up inside of Sunrise, and it's going to be Bolo to try and head this off for the moment.
Knocks them both out, and now 3. Man, Bolo is just feasting on drones right now here as Empire throwing everything they've got. Already half their drone count used. That Magnet's going to eat this one up. Bolo's going to run a little bit further away, and now dodge another one here as the pressure comes out against him, but he's able to contend against it anyway. Joystick falls. A second player still ready to move in through. Pool Door is always ready for the re-challenge. He's scared to go for it here. Bolo's been unstoppable in these power positions, and he's looking to line himself up with a double again at the beginning of round number 7.
Doesn't want to slow down just yet. Play out that timer. Do not peek, especially with Merc in this position. He'll be able to try and assist here as Dan tries to fire through the wall, but look at all of this time that they've now wasted, and Merc, he's just going to swing him instead. Geo takes down one as well as Merc tries to swing through, but it's Bolo that takes down Always as they dice up Empire inside of Sunrise. They can't have any of this. TSM knocks him out of the building, and now it's just down to Shepard inside of a 1 versus 5.
The quote Canadian, you try getting him out of that position. You try flushing him out there. You try throwing all those nades at him. It doesn't matter. He's ready for the challenge regardless of the circumstances as Bolo holds the line yet again, this time behind the Sunrise bar as a first round is picked up from TSM, and now they take the leading round away from Empire. Will we have another volley of exchanges though, or does Empire have something to strike back with here as we get ourselves into the second hole, which is going to go directly into the blue bar?
What an insane stand from Bolo there, and one that was desperately needed for TSM. Empire so close to knocking him out of that Sunrise position, but as soon as he gets that first blood, everyone on the TSM lineup builds in around him. Merc gets up into couches. Geo moves over to blue. It's so very difficult to try and get around this space and continue to work it, especially when you have Merc shooting back against your Finka player that actually does get control of blue. It's just so hard fought in the moment right now, but what can you do against this? That's the real question, but luckily enough, you and I don't have to answer it. It's down to Empire to figure out this offensive side.
Empire, we can see from these replays here, tunnel visioning a little bit as players like Geo are able to waltz right up to big window, catch a player trying to peek in through Sunrise as they were so desperately trying to find a pick against either Merc or Bolo there, but could barely even get themselves into the building, let alone maintain any positioning. TSM with the lead, and now we're going to see some big operator changes as we move over towards the blue bar hold. Pulse is coming in for Geo. We're going to see the Frost Mats back at it again for Bolo. The Castle's back in play for Chala as well to block off some of these access points. Should be a very winning lineup though for TSM, especially if they're able to put their early round foot forward and shut down the members of Empire in the first minute or two, as we saw back on the previous round.
Well, now for TSM, can they continue the climb here? Round 8, will it be in their pocket, or can Empire equalize yet again here? Going to have the holds dedicated upstairs here as we are into double bar. You need to hold on to that hookah area, and that will be the job of Achieved and Merc in the moment. Merc will be playing here inside of Drinks, right, and behind Billiards. Drone out for Shepard as well as he will look to see what's going on inside of this top space.
All quiet on the front, though. Neither team able to find anything inside of the first minute. Merc knows there's drone presence inside of Aqua, but he wants to challenge directly against it despite the door being open. Only knows about the one drone. Things will start well for Dan, however, as he's able to find out Chala, knock out the extended position of the castle, and remove him from play at any point in the late round. Of course, we'll see Chala contribute in other ways here from the intel game, but for now, he's done inside of the server itself. Joystick looking to wrap himself up here, already having the intel as the Merc, but Merc still wins out the initial fight. Thankfully, Empire had an insurance policy in the form of Shepard on the outside rappel. He'll quickly trade that back out, and Empire still in the lead here now to 4v3. And he's seen another player from TSM flushed out of their extended position. Achieved, not going to feel confident to play over by Cool Vibes. He heads back to Kitchen.
Empire have so much time to work with here as well. They can just dedicate this to droning and seeing where TSM want to try and hold things down. Obviously, Geo will still be inside of Sunrise, especially with this cardiac sensor. Might be able to find a pick that they desperately need, but he's just going to look to see if he can possibly set up a nitro cell in some space to be able to get this frag. Well, waiting for the man to fall off, and what will happen to our Buck here is he's right on the edge. Geo, he's going to put away the cardiac sensor and always gets blown sky high. That's the equalizer that they desperately needed.
Geo will just fall back into the relative safety of this bunker setup behind the B chassis. Shepard, though, wants to breach it back open. Is there utility for the defenders to knock it out? It's not necessarily looking like it here. No impacts and nothing to stop that opening from going through here. More than likely going to cause a move for Geo. In fact, he actually eats some of the damage from those X-Kairos. About a third of his HP, a little less than that, going away from him here as that hole is opened up. But did he stick around here? Looks like he has. Going to maintain this position. He still has a slight corner to play for him. Really banking on the fact that no one from Empire are going to pop that window open, though this is still a very dangerous position. But so far, reading it correctly as he shuts down Dan, and there's no Overwatch to trade him.
Nothing to do now for Empire. They need something serious in the moment, and luckily enough, it's a trade from Scyther as Shepard takes down Bolo. It's up to Achieved in order to get this done. He swings through, he can't find the initial frag, and it's Shepard with the secondary SMG, the Bearing 9, able to strike true here and equalize us yet again.
Very, very close for both teams inside of that round, but TSM just a tad too aggressive with their positioning, not accounting for the quick rotates to come in for so many players, especially over towards the pool door push in those dying seconds of the round. And as a result of the later rotates from the kitchen hold on TSM, they cannot get back into the site in time to stop Empire from establishing positions that they needed to shut out those last two players. It's Empire right back into tying contention here at 4-4 for both teams.
You know, this is really starting to look like a map that we watched a long time ago, John. I want to kind of teleport you back to SI 2019, where we had the longest coastline ever, which was 22 rounds, and Empire actually took part in that, for those that don't know, up against G2. Luckily enough, this cannot possibly happen here. We definitely have the opportunity to go to overtime, but we do not have the opportunity to continue on into that infinite time frame. There has to be a winner here, and we might have to use the full breadth of rounds to do it, the full 15, but one of these teams has to give. Who is it going to be?
Well, the ball is in Empire's court now to try and repeat success, as these teams have been going back and forth for some time here, and the scoreline has reflected that, with only at most a one-round lead going up on the board for either team here at any point during this map. TSM looks to try and trade this one back out in their own flavors. They now go into a hookah and billiards hold here, and of course going to extend horizontally quite a bit to try and waste Empire's time, specifically with their initial clear towards VIP and Hall of Fame and the penthouse position that Empire will more than likely want to try and take for themselves. They're already working on that one. Geo contending against. This is the snipes out the first drone chucked in against him over here by the front stairs window. Wild Nitro goes sailing out that window as well, but to no real success here, as Empire have moved away from that, and they're going to try to handle things a bit more vertically, as we can see two players on top of the bathroom hatch.
Looks like Empire wants to deal with this area a little bit more direct than we would expect initially here for Hookah. A lot of teams looking to just prioritize getting things set up inside of the Aqua space, but they want to play into TSM's hand over here, so let's see how strongly the defense can hold up. Bolo will currently be inside of VIP, manning the guitar door as Empire continually tries to get more intel onto this location, but the mute jammers are working out so very well for Achieved at the time, as he's going to be able to slow down this info game, at least in the moment. Joystick, though, he's already worked in under the site in a certain sense, as he's inside of kitchen, be able to get rid of the default cam here for jungle, but Achieved, he could play spoils, as they haven't discovered his location just yet. Currently over here inside of security, and has an opportunity to make some very nice flanks.
Half the round now gone here. Empire still looking to reposition a few of their players. Dan now wanting to harass from the hookah rappel window. See if he can find out any of the members of TSM from there. At the same time, they're going to crack open the corner that would normally become problematic for that player on Repel, and thankfully, for their sake, find nothing there. The Repel yields results as well. Dan gets himself off of it onto the platform over by Balcony, and that'll allow him to find the cross against Chala, netting Empire the first kill of this round, and hot on the heels of a second here as they're going to try to isolate out Bolo, but he's playing it safe now as he knows he's lost his support.
Scary situation now, but he's got one impact to be able to get rid of at least this set of Exkyros. Shepard has so many, though, and that's the big problem. Gonna set out a 2-set here that will end up popping that wall open, as there's really no answer for the defense any longer. Dan trying to hold the rotation here for Vibes as well, so there's no escape for the time being for the Vase player unless he wants to try and rotate to the other side or remove the head off of Always. That always works too. Geo now will be holding on to Billiards here as they've slowed up Empire's offense, but oh no, Joystick on the back end. He'll take down Merc as that will remove the 90 player, and he'll take down Bolo. Empire's got the Overwatch, and they've got the round. Back to back yet again here for Empire.
It all came down to those final 1v1s and just far too many of them falling into the hands of Empire. The site control, which was looking good for TSM, falls to pieces off of the back of that great flank coming in through 90, and the other players taking solid duels past that point also. Empire now in pole position here. Only 2 rounds needed to close this one down, but we only have 3 rounds remaining here, so it's got to be nearly flawless from our attackers from this point forward if they want to close this down. If not, overtime will be on the cards to settle our first grand finalist.
Yes, indeed. So we are at 5-4 score line here. TSM with so much to do in the moment. But fortunately enough, history may repeat itself as the first half of this map, Empire was the only team to go back-to-back on rounds for their second and...
Right after this pause to see if the insight from their coach as well as the discussion from the leadership team in-game is going to yield any results.
I don't know about you, but if there was one grand final that I could just close my eyes and pray and get inside of our Sunday matchup, it would have to be this. I'm being so serious. I want a full breadth best of 5 between TSM and Team Empire. These two teams have been so much fun to watch inside of this series so far, and not only that, but they've reached this moment right here on Coastline, no less. 5-4 in favor of Empire as we come off of the TAC timeout. And for TSM, a lot to do yet again, as we were talking about previously. It all starts here on the kitchen. Defense, what's the change up for them? Well, not really too much. They're still going to have Merc on the Vigil, who could play spoils around the map if he so chooses. He's been firing on all cylinders when it comes to this map. Kind of had a fall off there for a moment inside of Cafe, but wasn't really needed that much in the grand scheme of things. Now it's down to him to try and assist, but oh no, the early damage already coming down is Achieved has been dusted. Where is he at? I think he's over on White Stairs, and not like this. Please, Dan, not like this, as the Twitch drone continues to tick away at his health.
Doesn't do enough anymore, unfortunately, so not going to fully knock Achieved out here. We've seen Joystick take quite a bit of heat now that Chala, I believe, has the Overwatch for the front door also. Achieved back in the fight here, and Chala swinging out to try and find that player just below the front stairs rappel window. Not going to see either team, though, yield their first kill, as both Joystick at low HP as well as Achieved revive back up, are going to keep themselves into it. Joystick nearly lost, but the real story is Merc coming back into it here and locking down the first real kill against Shepard.
Joystick on such incredibly low HP as well. And Empire, they haven't been using Finka at all throughout this best of 3. So they won't have those adrenal surges, and Merc's got another kill. Oh no, not like this, Empire. Merc now with a 2.0. If you want to throw the assists in there, he's doing even better in the moment. Bolo, though, will finally go down to Scyther as Empire find a response.
Big mistake in the intel game there for Joystick specifically. For those who caught it mid-reload after he popped the door open there, completely exposed to the swing from TSM, and an easy kill for Merc to be able to negotiate there. Empire, once again, having trouble keeping up with the constant rotates that TSM are throwing at them. This mobile team is constantly finding the opening kill and oftentimes not leaving a window for the trade to come out either on the side of Empire. It's TSM now 4v3, still over a minute to go though. That is plenty of time for Empire to course correct, especially with them having proximity close to the site now, starting to clear out the second floor hold, and more than likely in a few moments getting access to either the main stairs or the Cool Vibes rotate.
Not only that, but it is eerily quiet around the map currently, but the stun will break that up. Currently coming in onto anyone here as always, just trying to see if he can possibly pick up a free frag in the area. He'll try and pack up that stun grenade, but fortunately enough for him, no one currently inside of this area. But might end up running into some problems now as we still have a geometrics all the way up inside of the bathroom, but it's Merc instead. He is just running amok of this entire offense. They can't get in front of him. Dan has to kill him here, and he does, but now that will give up where Dan is as well. He's at the front door, and Achieved, he's going to be able to play this out. They have no idea where he is. The Nitro's still out, but it's not going to do much. He gets stuck to the top of the door, and he's dead. It's a 2 versus 2, and the plant's going down for Scyther. Dan wants out another kill. It's a triple for him. Chala has to clutch things up like he's done all year for TSM. It's slowed down inside of stage 3, but they need him here inside of the upper bracket. Can Chala get it done with the 81? He steps up to the plate inside of Kegs, has some damage with the impact, and it's looking doable in the moment. He needs to win one of these gunfights, though. There's 25 seconds on this clock as he shifts back into stalls. He knows one's got to be around the space, but he sprints in. Whoa. He finds Scyther. Can he get it done outside, though? Oh, what a great move here from Dan. The window will break up, and he knows that he has it on time. Chala! He gets it done, and TSM equalize.
TSM, I thought the round was done and dusted after that perfect comeback from Dan, fragging his way into the site and opening up a path that no one saw coming for Empire, but still, the clutch is there for TSM. They bring it back, they equalize yet again, as this scoreline cannot contend for either team. It's 5-5, no one with the lead as we go into the last 2 rounds of regulation.
I'm gonna have to take this jacket off, man. I'm getting hot. I'm getting hot watching this game right now. I'm not even in it. I mean, we are on the precipice of such an electric matchup here, folks, especially on Coastline. Merc is just giving them the business time and time again on this roam. But Empire, they fight back in such convincing fashion, especially inside of the 2 versus 4. What a nasty round for both of these teams.
Empire refusing to give up even when the odds are stacked against them. Beautiful play from Dan. Perfect smoke to block off the crosses and make sure he would be able to isolate the 1v1 versus the player behind check-in desk as well. But Chala, so wonderfully played, catches Empire just when they were the most vulnerable, just when Dan had gone for the rotate outside to try and establish the final position needed to shut that down. The first duel is his, and the second one is just a matter of timing as he shuts out that last player. And you can see the hype from these guys as that one is stolen right out of the hands of Empire and restored for a round that TSM ultimately, to be fair to them, should have closed out much more convincingly in their favor, but still, it ends up in their pocket, and now we are tied yet again here as TSM move to another new site into the double bars.
Double bar here for this second time as they continue their site rotation. Obviously, it'll be the top hold for them, but past that, TSM need to get ahead of Empire on this entry, and with 15 seconds already gone in the round, Empire's right at the gates to Coastline as they'll be looking to entry into this map. Look towards Geo to try and find some extra insight on this situation to assist his teammates, specifically Merc, who once again has been just so influential inside of this game, and he'll look to do so yet again here in round 11. Bolo almost with a beautiful shot through there, but unfortunately for him, Empire's member on the other side of the gazebo outside.
Timing seemed like it was there too, just off by a pixel or two it seemed, or some lucky coverage blocking off Dan's POV. Either way, both players are going to choose to back away from each other. Bolo wins this ego duel for the time being here, as a member of Empire will step away. They've got things to take care of. They've got utility to clear. They don't want to necessarily throw themselves into a losing battle, especially against Bolo this early on, as he's been so hard to clear out. Even with the bit of a mixed personal scoreline that he's got there at 7-7, his hard lock positions have just been so arduous for Empire to clear.
Great read here from Geo Pulse, showing exactly what he's so good at inside of these rounds. Some early insight, but now Joystick, he needs to win this fight. Merc doubles back, and they deal just about the same amount of damage to each other. He's going to move in behind the Aqua Bar, but he's been stunned out. That's such an easy kill. The team play from Empire on the roof. I mean, it's going to bode so very well for them as they take down the top frag for TSM.
Polo looking to try and find some revenge, though. He's rotated back up, but Willie reading into the pack. There's two players here. No! You mentioned it before, and it sticks its ugly head out against TSM again. The intel play, too strong for Empire here in round 11. They snipe out a second kill now against Merc. That's two of the biggest fraggers, two of the biggest impact makers on TSM, down for the count. And they're going to have to try and bring it back on a 3v5. The only good news, we're down to less than a minute. And Chala, he's contemplating this swing out. There's another player that's going to cross right against him. Are they ready for the fight? Oh no, Chala backs away from it too early, so Shepard survives, and always they're on top of the hatch for the refrag, but Achieve refrags himself as he's able to find Dan at the bottom of Cool Vibes.
Now with only 34 seconds remaining here, something has to be done. It's all down to Achieved. And ladies and gentlemen, do you believe? That's the real question. The plant going down now as Empire has amazing Overwatch for this. Always! What a time to be alive for an Empire fan as he comes off the top rope and ends his existence.
Hip fire shot as well to line up that last one. Beautifully done by him. So we go all the way to the end of regulation. It's match point on 12 for Empire, with only one opportunity to shut it down here in this round. If TSM volley it again, we are going to overtime to find our first grand finalist here at the 6th Invitational 2022. And what a statement from Empire on that round to respond to the clutch from TSM. They were angry about the loss back on round number 10, and they did not want to have another one like that unfold.
Time and time again, a round like that can mean damnation for your team as the egos just deflate. You can't get anything done. You're worried about what the other team can do to you, but Empire, they don't stop. They trudge along on the warpath here and finally reach match point on Coastline. They could end it all right now on their offensive side unless TSM has something to say about it.
With the intel play we saw from Empire there, the swift droning as well as just the constant countered angles set up against every single aggressive swing TSM wanted to go for on that previous round. The odds don't look good here. TSM may have lost their early round edge. And if that's going to be the case, the late round play has been mixed at best, so they will not have a lot to fall back on. We could very well be looking at a 7-5 victory from Empire if they can repeat the same success. Obviously, a different site to play at. We're back upstairs now inside of Hookah Billiards, an area where Empire has struggled tremendously with the early clears.
And for TSM, you have to be worried in the moment because the boogeyman has just came out onto the field. Empire, once again, looking to end it all right now. Not too big of a change up inside of their utility overall. We'll still have Joystick on the Yana. Dan be playing on the Twitch in the moment as they've struck true often enough to make things so complicated for this defense. And just look at how fast they're entering this building. Joystick already in down low and on the hunt for a TSM member.
Lining it up, trying to read into predictable rotates. Not looking like it's really going to catch anyone from TSM, though. They're playing this entirely upstairs, at least for this first minute or so. We might see players try to get flushed out from their positions, specifically there towards Penthouse. Later on, before the time being, Empire is satisfied with the Overwatch they have. This is going to be an attempt to catch the player upstairs and also deal with that Electric Claw, rather, but it's actually going to miss. It's a little bit too far to the right there, so won't actually find it, and that'll be a big piece of utility into the dumpster for Empire.
It's super smart for TSM upstairs. They break open the flooring and then put the Electroclaw at the max distance away from the wall. So it's very hard to predict for that frag grenade. They simply ping it out on the location they think it's going to be, but clearly not there. Now the Gemini out for Joystick as TSM have been able to slow them down on this clear. They really don't know where any of these members are in the current moment as they've been able to hold on to this top floor. And as this timer continues to dwindle, it's going to get harder and harder for Empire to get anything done.
Empire with the initiation right here, but at the same time, no early kills to fall back on. Lots of presence being found for them specifically underneath of the site, but again, it's always that transition, that ascent or descent that teams have to go for on the attacking side that gets them. That's when they're finally going to meet their opponents against their positions here inside of some gun duels that, for the most part, Empire have been able to avoid up until this point in the round. Scyther potentially lining up one of the first ones here. He's going to chuck a drone in, masks it as well, gets it to the inside. So that's going to find out where Chala's at. He falls up with a nitro. Oh, and they're going to get each other. Chala hits the button, dials the number just in time as Scyther chops his head off with his final moments of life in this round also.
It's the dead man's hand here as it just blows him sky high. But Joystick finds Merc, who's stepping up a little bit too aggressively here inside of the space. And now for TSM, 40 seconds remain from them in overtime or going to the lower bracket. Bolo will be able to get rid of the drone initially here as Empire starts to push themselves up the stairwell. It's a stun out here from Always as he tries to have some influence over this space. Shepard also putting the plant down, but will he be able to stick it? He will, more than likely, especially after Joystick takes down Bolo, and it's a 4 versus 2 going for TSM into the post plant.
Gio's out in the open, but now down on the ground here. Achieve with a position in Cool Vibes, though, catches one of the members of Empire. He's got so much to contend against, though. A direct fight at the top of Cool Vibes is waiting for him here. He spotted the player in the corner of his eyes, but it's not going to be enough. Always shuts it down. And Empire are your first grand finalists of the 6th Invitational 2022.
What an insane series between these two. Empire, a team that at the very start of SI 2022 was a big question